Okay, so this morning, just because I don't have a lot of time this morning, I'm going to do a really quick warm-up. I've been doing character faces this week and um, working on Bristol board. This morning I'm going to be using a Palomino Blackwing pencil, graphite. I think this is like a 4B pencil. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the softness and hardnesses of artistic pencils, they're marked with these numerical references. So you have 9B being the softest, and then it goes to 9H being the hardest. So it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you have H, and then you have B, and then you have 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, and those are all soft. So in school we had, you must have a 2B pencil. That would be the hardness of the graphite and the presence of graphite. So H has more clay and is harder, whereas B has more graphite and is softer and less clay. Typically the B pencils are a little bit more expensive because the graphite is, of course, a little bit more expensive. So I use Blackwing just because it's got a really nice feel to it. It's made, I believe, in America, and it's got a really nice eraser on it coupled with the graphite, and it's really nice. So working in graphite, I don't do a lot of graphite pencil work anymore. Not by, necessity or anything like that. I can afford, nice graphite pencils, as you can see. I don't use graphite primarily because it smears and it gets all over my hand and then it becomes kind of a mess. I do love graphite pencils in general. And, I think in the future what I'll do is I'll just start doing more and more graphite work. We'll see. And I do have pencils actually that are completely graphite. Don't know if I have any around with me here. Yeah, here we go. So these pencils are really cool. It's completely graphite. Now you see the 2H right there. I don't know if you can see that. That means it's got more clay in it. And then I come over here. Here we go to 4B. I love this pencil. And what's really great about woodless pencils, you can see the difference, obviously. The wood comprises the majority of the pencil, whereas this is all graphite. So you can really get into the side of the pencil itself. Now, the problem is whenever you're pushing on it, especially on like a 4B, you can break the pencil really easily because it's all graphite. All right, cowboys. So I've been doing cowboys this week. I did kind of like cowboy ogres, a combination of, subject matter there. I think I did that yesterday. Let me see here. No, I just did cowboys. This guy's kind of like a villain, sinister, and I worked in blue line color erase pencils, again, because you can erase and it doesn't smear and it's got a nice quality for shading. That's primarily why I use blue line. A lot of people ask me, what pencil are you using? And I always try and iterate to them, it's not the pencil, it's not the it's not that causes you to be a decent artist. It's, it's tons of practice, and just educating yourself and doing it daily. An artist is not typically made in the classroom. I've said that before, and I say that even now. I didn't learn a lot of the things that I now utilize in my repertoire, I love that word, repertoire, in the classroom. I don't want to say I learned very little in the classroom, because that would be an insult to the education system, and I don't want to do that. School is what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. I can remember so many times when I was in school, and I would question why I was doing certain things. Why am I doing this? This makes no sense. I'm going to be doing this. I remember my computer class. This is funny. I remember my computer class. I think I've said this before. I've said it whenever I teach. I was doing a Photoshop class because it was a requirement whenever you're at Ringling, back in the day. And back then, even the internet was in its infancy, and you didn't have a lot of resources to educate yourself on the side like you do today. So getting in there and getting into Photoshop and actually being taught these programs was something that I was interested in, but I used a pencil. I'm like, why am I going to do this? I use a pencil. I'm not going to be doing anything digitally, not realizing, the folly of what I was talking about saying, because, my primary work now is all in digital just because of the nature of the business and what I do. And, I got kind of irritated at the professors, because they were like, you need to go in and you need to understand how these programs work and the quick keys and my teacher, I forget who the teacher was. He wasn't that good, to be honest with you, because I remember being frustrated at the fact that certain things in Photoshop, eluded me. Same thing in Illustrator. It was digital illustration is what it was. And that's one of the things that, I remember and I look back on as kind of being an epic fail. And, whenever I went in and started teaching stuff in digital class, unfortunately, it wasn't a how to learn Photoshop class. It was a digital illustration class. And I can just remember some of the frustrations of the students, because all they wanted to do was learn the program. And unfortunately, that's not what the class was about. And, I sympathize and empathize with their issues. But one of the things that I told them, I said, you will not learn everything you need to learn about Photoshop in this class. You'll basically learn the basics of the program, but a lot of it has to do with experimentation and how you're going to solve the issue, how you're going to solve that problem of, trying how to work digitally, because everybody works different, and I learned that, especially being in the industry that I was in for years and years, the apparel industry, and having to work digitally primarily because, separations and how they do things digitally, everybody does things so different. And I remember, certain ways I would look at different files from different artists and illustrators and how they would set their files up. And I would think, man, you're setting a file up to where it's not conducive towards production. You must have come up doing things a certain way, and now it's kind of working against the entire production pipeline. So that's, doing things, you quote unquote doing things correctly, but in actuality, you're doing things the way that work best for you. And I'm always evolving and changing, especially digitally. Nowadays I work primarily digitally, and I don't do a lot of apparel. I do some apparel, but again, I have always got that, that mindset in the back of my brain. This is going to have to be sent to production. I don't set things up to where they can't be separated, and that's just in apparel. I also, work editorial. I work toys and production, and having to set files up that way. So just know that even though you may poo-poo something, which is what I did, I poo-pooed it, digital illustration, eventually you might actually need it. And that was my first job. I was a digital illustrator for a company called the Venator Group, which owned Foot Lockers and Champs Sports, those places in the mall where you go and buy shoes. And so that's what I did for my first job, digital illustration. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, digital illustration? Okay, yeah, I know how to do Photoshop, which, at that time, whenever I interviewed, I had a very rudimentary understanding of how Photoshop worked because, even though I had some assignments, I was not that great at it. Well, I learned very quickly and what worked for me. So, but nowadays, this right here, this kind of old school way of doing things, this is therapeutic for me. You'll notice as you gradually mature in your artistic career that you'll start doing things just for enjoyment. And that's what this is. This is pure enjoyment, you know, working. I want to make that tooth too big. And that tooth gets smaller as they go back. And as I do things now, especially like this, I'll do them for enjoyment, you know. So let's give him a little pipe. Have that go back there. That lip kind of curls around here. Have that chin come here. I'm gonna have a little bit of a butt chin. Okay. These pencils are fantastic because they get a nice light line. Again, the only issue is you see I'm starting to get graphite on my hand, which I'm okay with. At the end of the day, it kind of lends itself to, you know, the piece itself, and you can go back in and erase and do what you need to do. Some whiskers. This guy's kind of an overbite. Just like, oh, yup. Okay, so now I'm going to transition over to this pencil. You're going to understand. Now, you're like, how can they get it to where it doesn't get all over your hands? It's like there's nothing on your hands if it's a pure. Well, this is wrapped in plastic. So whenever you sharpen it, and it actually helps aid in it not breaking. So we're going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and do this. I can already tell you right now, this pencil, even though it does say 4B, it doesn't have the same feeling. It's harder, it's grittier, and even though it does say 4B, I wonder if I have a 6B. I wonder if the Palominos are 6B. It does feel different. It doesn't have the same quality and smoothness that Palomino does, right? I bet that Palomino's a 6B because that feels so good, you guys. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of drawing traditionally like this, which is what I've been doing, so let's do the cheekbone. Kind of like this. Shade that in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on its side. Now I don't want to choke back too far on the barrel, because if I push here, it's gonna put all the pressure on that fulcrum right here, and it's gonna break the lead. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come all the way to the tip up here, and I'm gonna put it on its side. And you notice I can start really putting in a lot of material and shade that in and put a lot of value in to start accentuating the form, right? Okay, so now, occasionally you'll see me do stuff like this, and what that helps me do is reestablish this as a 3D or three-dimensional object. And I can literally go back in and just start reestablishing and shading that in. Okay. So this, if you can see this right here, this form, I've already got simple line right here, and that's that whatever you want to call it, the flap, something, I forget what this is called in the hat. Some of you guys are shouting in the screen right now. Whoa, that's what it is. Just like a band, like a hat band. That helps, again, define that as a form. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on its side. I'm going to shade that in. Okay. And this is a really great way if you're doing concept work to, again, put in a lot of value. And digitally speaking, you know, there are brushes, and, you know, they have that whole thing with tilt and being able to utilize tilt. I'm utilizing tilt in my drawing. So I'm going to go back in really quick. We're going to put in a couple little features because he is a little bit older. I'm going to put some wrinkles. Okay. Okay, there's a shadow that comes around here because you got that hat right here. I love working, again, I said, you know, before, I love working with graphite. I don't do it enough, again, because it's so messy. So let's go ahead, do this. Sharpen. You notice that the on this particular pencil, the pencil lead goes down really quickly. So, you know, I have my pencil sharpener there. Typically, I'll have 3 pencils, 2 or 3 pencils, you know, lined up so I don't have to use the pencil sharpener. That's a little bit of a pro tip for you guys. Yeah, this has to be like a 6B. I can feel it. It's so nice and smooth. And you could do the same thing with these pencils because there is quite a bit of real estate there. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay. Yeah, this one has a much nicer feel to it. Softness. Bet if I looked really quick, I could find my 6B woodless pencil. Another great option for you guys is going to be the ebony, the Prisma Ebonies. So let me see if I have one sharpened. Okay. Okay, so these are really nice too. And again, these are really dark. So you can go in and start putting in graphite. I surmise, oops, again, you know, see, I'm telling you, breaking. That happens, and putting that nice value in there really helps accentuate the character. The thing that I've noticed though with the ebony pencils, it's very textured, whereas these are textured, but you get a lot more graphite. And these again are the Palominos. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Excuse me. Just again, a little quick warm up this morning. All right. Move this over slightly. Alrighty. You know, depending on the character design that you're doing, I mean, there's so many variables whenever it comes to drawing character faces. I mean, it's all up to you. That's what's great about art and drawing, is the fact that you can just literally go in and have fun and mess around with the forms and start messing around with the anatomy somewhat. You know, depending on your creative brief and if you're working for somebody, will really dictate the direction you need to take and how far you can, you know, push. But if you're just doing stuff for fun, I say push. I say push as much as you can and still, you know, get it to where it has a semblance of human form. Because, you know, once you get to that point where you don't really recognize if it's a human being anymore or you know, if it's a creature, then you realize, yeah, that's the spot where it stops being real, you know. Okay. But, you know, that if you've ever heard of that phrase stylized, you can really push something to the point where it actually looks more like the object or the person than the person does. And you're like, well, how's that? That doesn't sound right. Well, certain caricatures, they pull on, like a caricature of Jay Leno. You know, he's got that huge chin coupled with, he's got, you know, he's got a larger nose And he's got these tiny little eyes. And every time I see a caricature of Jay Leno, I can hear him somebody doing like an impression of him. Hey, 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 everybody, hey, hey. And he does that, you know, hey, everybody, hey. And it's got that small voice. And it actually sounds more like Jay Leno than Jay Leno does. So, doing just kind of, again, trying to get that kind of cowboy, villain, sinister vibe going. Okay, let's have that hat come around. Come up. Around. Have that hair come down. Got that eyebrow here. Got that eyebrow here. I know it looks like a mess a lot of times. Here. A little divot right there. But as long as you can see it, and you know the end drawing is something you're happy with, I say mess it. Mess it up. Make it look messy. Push that ear back slightly. You know, nobody, especially whenever you're doing fun stuff like this, just have fun with it. Here. He's like, and that cheek comes down because he's got his face a little contorted here. It comes here. So now I've got the basis established. You can basically see the character. You see what he's about. Now it's all about just maintenancing and going in and defining those areas with the details, you know, like the eyebrows, right? This comes here. And then you got this jaw. He's kind of a brute, so he's got that big breakable jaw. Oh, not sorry, breakable, but you know, that tough man jaw instead of a weak. I say breakable because I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna break that jaw. So we have that bottom of the lip comes around, and then you've got. I don't want to go too detailed with the teeth. When we start getting in there and drawing the teeth is when we start having, I think, some issues with believability. And you're like, you're kidding me, right? That's so far from being believable character. Well, I mean, human being. But, I mean, all the stuff's in the right places. Things are exaggerated, but you still understand what's going on. You know, those easy reads. Let's go ahead and do this eyebrow. I've talked about that before. You know, certain types of character designs really lend themselves to the certain cues in the character design really lend themselves to a narrative. You know, like this guy with a small chin, shoved back, you know, forward teeth, kind of, and a big nose and big ears, kind of give him a goofy feeling. And, you know, you come to this guy, which is more of a tough guy, because he's got that big chin, he's got that wide face and the compressed with a big forehead, and that pushed out brow, right? So those are the things that we don't even realize, you know, that we're doing. as humans, we observe and we see certain things, certain cues, excuse me, and we don't even realize why. So that's why, you know, as a character designer or an illustrator, it's really your job to understand the why. Why am I designing this character a certain way? Why does this particular character look this certain way? You know, why the clothes like this? And then your characters will be a much easier read and you'll have more success as a character designer, because your characters will be very clear of what they are. There isn't confusion, right? Okay. Yeah, causing a mess. Okay, we're going to give him like a 5 o'clock shadow. I'm going to go ahead and push this out just a little bit. Yeah, whenever we scrunch up our nose, we get all these. Yeah, and then this bunches up right here. He's like, "Arr." And even this can be pushed quite a bit further. He doesn't really have that superior feel. You know, I'd probably take that and do a second pass on it. Okay, so let's give him some whiskers. Yeah, I can feel this. That pencil's so soft, so hard. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and push this over. Give him, what is this? It's my Palomino. Okay. Kind of that 5 o'clock shadow. So nice. For those of you who wonder how much these pencils cost, you can get, if you go to the Blackwing website, you can get a pack for $35. I think they're about $2 a piece. And then, of course, they have special editions. I don't recommend you buying those, especially if you're going to be drawing with them. Just get the regular ones. The special editions are for collectors. You know, I don't know who collects pencils. I guess there's a market for that. I use my pencils, so I'm not going to spend $50 for a pack of pencils. Doesn't make any sense to me to do that. But if you're an enthusiast and that's your jam, then you go for it. I'm not going to judge. You know. Let's give this a little shadow right here. Yeah, I forgot how much I like drawing in graphite, especially with these pencils. So nice. See that, how dark it is? Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Whenever I was teaching in the college, I would always watch and look. It's one of the telltale signs of somebody that is unsure of themselves. Well, not maybe unsure, but is you know, striving, especially as a student striving for perfection, is the eraser. So like the erasers on pretty much all my pencils, I don't really use erasers that much. If I do use an eraser, it's going to be something like this. I've had this one for like 10 years and it's still, I mean, I just don't erase, you know. I would look at their pencils and their pencils would look like they'd gone through the ringer, especially the erasers. And I'm like, try and not erase so much, you know. Now, if I'm gonna do something like this, if I'm gonna go back in, you know, and then maybe I want to highlight like right here, you know. So that makes sense if I'm gonna do highlights and stuff like that. So I don't want to poo-poo people that use erasers. You do whatever you want at your drawing. So there you go. So you can use the eraser like a pencil and erase out some of that value. Here, I'll show you here in a second what I mean. So like if I wanted to take this, yeah, see what I mean? Gives it a nice little kind of push and pull situation going on. Yeah, I like that a lot. So we're going to put a little bit more darkness here. He needs to get some rest. And then he's got some wrinkles from all those sunny days. And you need to put some moisturizers in there. Maybe little moisturizers. He's got a little shadow that comes around here. It comes around this whole side. Let's go ahead and shade this in. Yeah, he's kind of like, ooh. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the new Mulan, I watched that recently and I liked it. One of the things that I really didn't like was the fact they had, you know, two antagonists in there. They had the witch, and then they had the bad guy. You know, I remember how strong the bad guy was in the original Mulan, Shan Yu. Man, he was just so bad news. And I got it. So at the very end, when they had the big battle scene, no spoilers, between the characters, I was disappointed in the fact that, you know, the main villain was not developed in such a way that he was super villainous. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Okay, I think that's all I wanted to show you guys for today. Working with the Blackwing Palomino pencil. You can get these on eBay or just go to the go to the Blackwing website. You get a pack of 15 for like $30 to $35. And they do have, like I said, they do have different hardnesses. So I recommend that you find out which one works best for you. I like going as soft as I can, just because, you know, of putting down wonderful value very easily and quickly. But you do have to deal with, you know, stuff like this. So let's go ahead and do this. Oh, shadow, real highlight there. And two, what's really cool with these pencils is the eraser. So once your eraser gets down, you can pull it out and you see, and then you can move it up here. So now I have more eraser to do my bidding. And it works on compression, so whenever you push it in, it's not going to come out. And I believe it uses this kind of this kind of eraser, which doesn't hurt the paper, which is also very important because you don't want to damage the paper. So let's do this. Pretty cool. Anyway, hopefully you guys got something today. Go draw something. Draw something traditionally. If you're a digital artist, get down, get dirty. You know, get dirty. Start doing something traditional. I love drawing traditionally. You know, if I had the opportunity to do it, just, you know, isn't that the goal? I think that's one of my goals. I just want to draw all day. You know, drawing traditionally. Some people actually do. You just draw all day. Yeah, and we're going to have some of these. See, that's cool whenever you can use the eraser to really create some cool effects, right? And have it go behind. Maybe he's got some white streaks. Hopefully you guys can see that. My apologies if you couldn't. Okay. Do this. I'm getting caught up in the moment here. Don't be afraid to get caught up in the moment of drawing. You know, just have fun. Anyway, a couple cowboy faces. Been working on some concepts recently. I've got a really cool concept that I'm developing as a possible illustration for apparel. I've been working on it now for about 2 days, just on, you know, here and there. It's an undersea illustration with coral. So I'll be posting that soon. I haven't decided if I'm going to be posting the video yet. Yeah, see, pretty cool. Anyway, and then as a final, just to go, where is it at? Where is it at? I wonder where my pen is. That's not good. Okay, just as a final, you can go in and put some highlights. The thing is with graphite, it will mix with paint and it'll turn it like a bluish tinge. So if you're gonna do highlights and stuff like that, I recommend you use an eraser. I do have an electric eraser somewhere around here. I used to own one. All right, you guys. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.